morning, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. As always, I am here with Donald and Rubino. And listen, it has been a wacky 48 hours since our last show as far as the news from Stanton. We talked about it a little bit on Monday. He was going to New York for testing, was the initial report. And then it just, all the rumor mills started spreading like a wildfire. And he was going for there was a court case. There was, I saw that real quick. That got debunked immediately. Then it was he's retiring, which I was like, oh, please tell me no. And I doubt that's the issue. But they did say he does have some personal issues that he's dealing with. My opinion, I think he's going to see his personal physician. I think he's going to see Dr. Ahmad plus his own physician to find out what is going on and what steps can be taken to avoid surgery, to extend any lengthy time away from the team. Because despite of all the drama and the speculations and the hate towards Giancarlo Stanton, one thing the three of us have agreed on since day one, he is all about the team. He loves being a part of this organization. And when he is right, he is the guy that can carry a team on his back. So we've been very consistent with avoiding the bashing of Giancarlo Stanton as far as his what's the right word I'm thinking of? I think his work regimen. I think is something that we've really admired about him and his dedication to his skill. So we don't know how long he's going to be out for. We're still waiting to find out the news on the testing results. Judge has been in touch with them, so he's in good spirits. So I'm still saying I think it's going to be less games missed than some people are speculating. I think it may be he may miss. I originally I thought he would be back for the beginning of the season. I thought they were just going to let him rest for the spring, give him some simulated at bats to keep him a little loose, but. The more you think of it, maybe it's just going to be a week or two into the regular season. And that is my opinion before knowing what the test results are. That's my assumption with the limited information about the testing that we've gotten from them. So I think that a lot of the fan base and the media themselves, because they're a big part of the problem, is let's wait to find out what's going on before we start saying, XYZ about his status for the 2025 season. How do you guys feel about it?
I mean, the media is not really saying that anything's going wrong because nobody knows. So, but in Aaron Judge's comments, he also said he wants a healthy Giancarlo mid-season. So that didn't sound too optimistic that he'll be gone for a couple of weeks. This is just a strange thing because usually if they're going for testing, Aaron Boone would simply say he's going to get looked at. He's going back to New York to get his elbows looked at. But he's saying, oh, it's a personal matter. If he wants to speak on it, I'm going to let him speak on it. So it's just Boone's wording that's making me like a little confused. I'm not thinking he's going to retire. I don't think he's having a court case or anything. But it could be something as simple as a family issue, which let him deal with that at spring training. And obviously he's not going to swing a bat. So let him deal with his family issues. It could be something that happened with him. I don't know. It could be maybe he's ill. I don't know. Nobody knows what's going on right now. And so you're right. Until we know, we can't really make any speculations. And it's people just want something to really talk about. But it's just the wording that Aaron Boone's using is confusing people, and it's making people feel worried. Because if it was just a case of he's going to get tested, we'll wait and see what the results say. He said that numerous different times for plenty of players that have been going on the IL. Why would this be any different? So it's because of the way Boone said what he said and the way Aaron Judge said mid-season. It's making people, I guess, panic or get into this thought process that he's going to miss a lot more time than we originally thought. But we're also used to this. Every time the Yankees say it's going to be a week, it's a month. If they say it's going to be a month, it's two. So you kind of got to prepare for that. The Yankees are never really right in their assessment. It's weird. And every time I hear about the news about Giancarlo, I'm like, this is strange because you don't really hear this about a guy going to get a visit. Because Judge said, yeah, he's going to get looked at, but Boone said, no, it's a personal matter. So which one is it? Nope. That's why everyone's so confused. That's why I'm confused. And now I don't agree with the whole retirement stuff and trying to speculate what it might be, but it's a confusing thing when you hear one report and get confirmed by another report, and then a player on the team that's in contact with him constantly is like, yeah, he's going to get looked at, but then the manager's like, it's a personal thing. Which one are we looking at here? So, yeah, we have to wait and see what they say, but it's weird. That's the only word I can really use. It's weird, confusing, strange. There's 3.
Donald?
I just wish Aaron Boone wouldn't speak in code. The situation is personal in nature. I'm going to leave it at that for now. That's all I can comment on that. How does that enlighten any issues? Allay any concerns, anything like that? I mean, I wish the Yankees weren't so secretive. I mean, it's not like he's not the second best bat on the team, the best bat in October. It's not like that. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like he clearly is. So why are they so secretive? Can they not just be a little bit more forthright? And be like, this is a situation. He's going to Dr. Ahmad, and he's going to go and get it checked out with his doctors back in New York. We will have more for you in the coming week. But to just be like, it's personal nature, so I'm going to leave it at that. So it's a little bit too murky. And it leads to all these speculations like, oh, he's going to retire, or this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I don't think it's that, but we don't know, because it sounds like it's more serious than they want it, than they really want to tell us. So it's kind of murky, and it's leaving us to kind of worry. And I'm sorry, he is absolutely vital to this offense. Vital, absolutely vital. We don't have enough of an offense without him by any stretch of the imagination to do anything at all in October. So, we kind of need to know what's going on here. But if you read between the lines what Aaron Judge said, it says to me that they're expecting him to be out until midseason, because he actually did say that. At the end of his sentence, he did say something like, we need a healthy Stanton by July or by midseason, something like that. So it says to me that we're not going to see any Stanton until July. I think
that might be too late.
It might be, yeah, because I don't like this offense. So I don't like the secrecy either, FJ. The secrecy is what worries me.
Yeah.
And it leads to speculation, and it leads to things that are kind of unnecessary. I mean, I don't know if this is political, what the Yankees are doing, keeping everything in the dark, but who's it serving? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who does it serve? Does it serve Stanton? Well, maybe that's maybe that's the primary concern, and maybe it is a personal nature. Maybe he does need to be left alone for a while. But the right speculation now, does that help anybody? You know, I'm not sure. I think the Yankees would be better off just giving us a better glimpse in this situation. They don't have to be like completely transparent, but give us a little bit more information than what Wade Boone put it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a bit weird. So it's too murky, guys. I don't like the way that the Yankees handle this stuff. I mean, we're not a small market team. We're not a small market fan base. We have very passionate, very committed fans with very high expectations. They kind of need to know we do deserve to have a little bit of knowledge as to what's going on here. Just a little bit, just like he's going for surgery or he's going to go and get it checked out. There's something that they're a little more concerned about with his elbows, so they're going to go check it out. Something like that. I mean, how is that going to hurt anybody? And also, we already know the Yankees are not spending any money anyway, so it's not like they're keeping it secret in order to help their trade negotiations. Because from what I understand, the Yankees are done. So yeah, I don't like it. But I think one thing that it's very important for all of us, all fans, everybody watching, and us on the panel, that we wish Stanton the best of health and the very, very best in the coming weeks. Because we don't know what's going on, we're just speculating. I hope it's okay. I hope everything's okay with him. I hope everything's okay with, like, say, his family. If there's anything personal going on, I hope all that is okay. But most importantly, I wish Stanton the very, very best, because this team is basically a non-starter without him. So just get healthy, Big G.
That's it. Yeah, and you're right. It's it's just come back healthy, whenever that may be. Whether it's in 2 weeks or in 2 months. Just when you come back, we're definitely gonna need you. And I'm just still, because we don't know anything. I don't want to just start just going all pessimist on it. I want to try to remain optimistic that it's not as severe, being he was able to play through it last year. That's still what I'm writing on. I said it earlier. So and I don't want to start hitting the panic button when we've only had 5 spring training games. We don't know how the rest of the spring's going to pan out, what moves are going to be made. We're going to get into later on, some of the other injuries that we're dealing with. Another one yesterday, unfortunately for Scott Effros. We'll get into that. But what we do want to get to real quick is giving everybody in our chat a proper shout out. So what's going on to everybody in the chat? And if you want to join our good friends in the chat, it's pretty easy. Just hit that subscribe button. And if you were in the chat, you enjoyed the discussion and you enjoy the show already, just hit that like button. But big shout outs to D-Rod, Lou. We got Spencer in the chat. Ken, as always, Dev, Sean Browning. We got Anna Marie with us this morning as well. Mr. Barrows, how is everything going? FJ, Jonathan, as always, is with us. John the Beagle Dad, Raziel the Great, Egyptian Magician. Good morning to everybody that is hanging out with us this morning. And let's
get into some comments here, because there's some really good comments here. Let's do that right now. D-Rod, who are we to Giancarlo Stanton that we need to know? That's a good point.
Yep.
What I'm trying to say is we don't need to know everything, but maybe just a little bit more forthcoming, instead of us jumping to conclusions like retirement and things like that. That's the stuff that's been going on in X. So that's why I'm like, well, maybe if they kind of gave us a little bit a clearer picture without being wholly transparent, it would help the trust between fans and organization. Because as Ken says here, and he's 100% right here, 1,000% right, I personally don't trust a word out of the front office with regard to injuries. They have lied countless numbers of times. And that's why it's like the boy who cried wolf. Every time the Yankees say something that isn't that serious, and then it turns out to be serious, that doesn't help us in the trust between fans and organization. And there does need to be trust between fans and organization. That's just the way it works. It's the way it works with every business, between customer and business, or clientele and client. There needs to be some kind of trust that what you're hearing is exactly what's going on, or at least close to what's going on. And we haven't had that in the past. Aaron Judge, it's just a couple of days. It's just a mid-spring break beat up or something like that. And then it turns out he's out for 2 months. And the same thing with Stanton. He's just we just took him out just to get him off his legs a little bit, and it turns out he missed the rest of the season.
Don't forget Judge's toe. Remember that?
Yeah.
How that turned into a 3-month or whatever, a month whole fiasco, and they said they thought he was going to be fine.
That's right, D-Rod. What I mean is, I understand that we're nothing to Stanton and we're nothing to the Yankees, but the way that the Yankees have done this is kind of like they're kind of leaving a couple of breadcrumbs scattered, right? And then we're trying to make it work to try and figure out what's going on, and we're jumping to conclusions. And does that help Stanton? Because that can't help Stanton. If people on X are going, he's going to retire, is there a death in the family and shit like that? I mean, that's not good stuff. So that's why you'd probably want just a little bit more transparent, just a little bit more, right? This is kind of what's happening. Instead, we're kind of jumping conclusions, and we're worried because we should be worried. He's a great dude, and he's a leader, and he's very important to this organization. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. There's some other good comments from Spencer. Okay, he's not too worried. It really turns into a monumental issue, and I think that will be the case with Stanton. Okay, so he's not worried. John the Beagle Dad's not worried. Okay. So there's some that are not too concerned. Reggie Gray has a good point here. He's naturally strong and just needs to recognize that he doesn't need to do any strength training like a tight end. And obviously Spencer doesn't want to speculate on things like that. So I mean that makes sense. So there's some good different viewpoints in this, and that's kind of cool. That's what we like. Do
HIPAA laws apply to
know what's going on in the personal life of any player or anyone unless they want us to know? It's a good point too.
The HIPAA laws are to anybody on a medical plan. Actually, it does. You don't even have to have a medical plan. It's you have to give permission to release your medical information to the public.
But I'm saying, like, because every time a player is hurt, we immediately hear about, even if it's a crazy injury, like if a guy had a fracture in his skull or something, we're going to hear about it because it happened on the field. I'm not saying that's what's going on here. We're not saying we need to know what's going on in his personal life. But what we're saying is between Boone's comments, the reports from Randy Miller and various other people, and then what Judge said, there's so much of a whirlwind of things going on here that all we're trying to say is that we need a little more clarity. Had they just come out and said it's personal, we'll let him deal with it. But then you hear Judge say he's going for testing. We'll see what the testing says. So it's like manager and captain are saying two completely different things, and that's why that's the confusing part. I don't need to know. If it's a personal thing, I don't need to know what's going on in Giancarlo Stanton's life. Yeah. I just hope that everything's okay. But I'm just saying we're getting so much different stuff. We're getting so many different reports from each side, from reporters, from manager, from captain. It would be nice to just have like one simple statement. It's personal. If Judge said, yeah, he's going to New York for some personal reasons, and when he comes back, he can address that. All right, then both the captain and the manager said the same thing. We can let the reporters do whatever they want. But it's because we've seen two different things that no, I'm not denying your I don't know anything about the HIPAA law. That's why I was asking. That's all. I have no idea about that stuff. I don't want to get into that. I didn't know. That's why I was asking the question. Because we always hear immediately about injuries. I feel like they have to report injuries because the it's IL manipulation that happens all the time. Things like that, so players can get the rest. And I think the Mets got in trouble for that recently. So that's what I'm saying, because I don't know how that all that works. But if it's a personal thing with Stanton, we don't need to know. But we don't need we don't need the reports and the player and the manager all saying a different thing, and that leads to the fans being confused, because even though people might think we don't matter, we do, because in Brian Cashman's own words, he said it's their responsibility to put a product on the field that the fans can be proud of. So we do matter. It's just we need a little more, just want a little bit more of an idea of what's happening here, because, again, at the risk of repeating myself one more time, player and manager are saying different things. So which one is it?
Yeah,
and that's the speculation. Yeah, we're not waiting for them to put on X, Stanton's entire medical chart. No. But going based off of the Yankees, as bad as they are with their medical, with their injury reports, one, because of IL manipulation, and the way it's always been with calling players up, missing time. There's always been that situation where you'll see teams will report to the league why such player is out or going to be missing significant time. It's if there are people that when they call out sick, some people just say, "Hey, I'm gonna be taking a sick day." Click. And some players, some employees have a rapport with their bosses. They're like, "Look, I'm just a little under the weather. I got a little sniffle. I don't want to spread it to anybody. I'm just going to stay home today." They'll give a little more detail. It's the same thing here. But the issue is, like Rob's been saying, Donald's been saying, and I've been saying, and a lot of people, it's the inconsistency of the information coming out that is making this more of an issue than it probably should be. Because, Stanton hasn't said anything. Judge is saying one thing, Boone is saying another. So what is it? Is it a personal issue or is he going for testing? We don't need to know if he's going for, he could have a test on it, it could be his pinky finger. I don't give a shit. But if he's going for testing, just say he's going for testing. If he's going to take care of a family matter, just say he's going for a family matter. And then it's a non-issue. It's all right, we'll see him when he gets back. That's where the problem is. It's the mixed reporting that is making this a lot more than it should be.
Right, and but basically what we've been saying as a whole for the last 20 minutes. There's only so many times that we can say it. Again, none of us are asking for the Yankees. We demand this information right now. If Giancarlo Stanton's got a family member that's sick, we need to know. No, we're not saying that. We don't want to be confused by two of the more important parts of our team, the manager and the captain. That's all we're saying. So just a little more transparency, as Donald put it, would be reassuring to the fan base, so we don't have this panic amongst fans. And I'll be honest, media as well, because they don't really know what's going on. They can report it's for testing, but then when they hear it's not for testing, it's personal reasons, they're like, oh, what the hell? So we got to look for the reporters, and if they can't give us the right information, then we got to hope the manager can give us the right information. If he's leaving us in the dark, we're kind of like, we need this player. First of all, we need him healthy, but if the Yankees want a chance to win, we need this guy on the team. And there's nobody that can dispute that. Giancarlo Stanton is a very important player on this team.
That's why it's a talking point.
And the confusion that they're kind of throwing our way, that's why I really don't know what's going on. But the more hopefully in the next few days, we get some clarity on the situation. If Stanton wants to speak on it, he can. If not, it's up to him.
One thing that's indisputable is that this lineup is basically, how to put it kindly, weak without Stanton. Very weak without Stanton. And that's what we should break down now over the next few minutes. How are they going to counter that situation now? So let's say that without knowing anything about anything, that Aaron Judge is the closest of all the people that's given us any information that he's going to be back around about July. How do we get to end of March to July without Stanton? How do we do it? Now, I know there's going to be some that will be like, I'll be fine. But y'all are out of your mind. So it's pretty important. So how are the Yankees going to do this, especially with the John Heyman report that the Yankees are done, which is just disgraceful, an embarrassment to the organization, embarrassment to everything about what the Yankees represent. So how, Rob, should the Yankees pivot with this Stanton news?
I mean, the other day I said it. They should be in on. They should have been on Arenado. They should be in on Iglesias. And if the Stanton stuff is longer, like it's a season-long thing, they should be calling JD Martinez. But even this late, there are still options. They can still try to pull the trigger on a trade for Arenado just to shore up third base, and that can open up possibilities to use the DH spot as a rotator because Cabrera can play all over. You can still get at bats to Peraza and things of that nature, but they should absolutely be looking to add a bat. I mean, you're already thin at third base, even though I really like Peraza, and I think the idea of a Peraza Cabrera platoon can be okay. There's the uncertainty with Volpe at the plate. There's the uncertainty with Goldschmidt at the plate, with Wells at the plate. Is Aaron Judge going to hit 57 again? Probably not. You need a Bellinger turnaround. You need You need Dominguez to not absolutely stink, which I don't think he will. But is Ben Rice going to be able to have a good season? Because we saw last year after that 3 home run game, he was like, it was kind of up and down. I think he's got a good bat, but we need to see a larger sample size. Now you have 2 holes in your lineup. And you have the other 7 where one's really a sure thing, and Aaron Judge, and the rest all have kind of their question marks. Even a guy like Jazz, there's some question marks around him. So they should be in on another bat. They absolutely should. And Arenado is the one that makes the most sense because it would solve the need at third base. This way, the only position you're really worried about is you're hoping Dominguez takes to left field. Plenty of time for that. And then you just got to use a DH as a rotator. So use Ben Rice. Use Pereira if you need to. Use Peraza if you need to, although you want his glove out there. Use Cabrera as a DH. He's a great bat against right-handed pitching, so use Judge a little bit as a DH and put Cabrera in the outfield. He can play right field well also. There's ways they can mix and match. I just feel like they should be in on another bat, and if John Heyman's report is true, it makes us angry. It makes me angry because you heard Hal say like 2 days prior, I'm not worried about the luxury tax, and then it's like John Heyman's like, no, they don't have any money. Why aren't you getting another bat? Even if it's Jose Iglesias, I feel a lot more comfortable with the Jose Iglesias in the lineup or on the bench than with Dominic Smith or Ben Rice as a DH right now.
Yeah, the whole thing with on the Mets end with Madrigal, they made that trade with the Cubs to fill his spot. So they're not even like that. Really leaves Iglesias like he's right in our lap. All we got to do is hold him, and he'd be ours. So I think that it's Iglesias would be the move because you have a guy that he hit 337 last year as a bench player. So you don't have to you don't have to worry about him coming off the bench. When coming into a game cold, he can still put together a really good major league at bat. There's very little rust to shake off in him, and he also can play. He can be a utility guy. You have Peraza as your third baseman, and with Iglesias as your DH bench, utility guy, along with Cabrera, and worst case scenario DJ. I feel a lot better about our bench, and a lot better about our offensive flexibility, as far as how we can structure the lineup. The move is right there, and unfortunately, everybody's taking Heyman's word over Hal that the Yankees are done, whereas Hal saying, like you said, Rob, he's not worried about the luxury tax, to a certain level, but that's the move to go. Just and then the other thing I see in FJ's comment about the trade rumor with Stroman and Beatty. As much as we want to move on from Stroman, I mean, Beatty is not a player that's going to move the needle for me. Where I'm like, okay, we can live with. I'd rather just
the Mets would never do that anyway. Are you kidding me? Beatty's hitting the crap out of the ball right now in spring for the Mets. He's looked pretty good, and they're not taking on Stroman. There's already been confirmed they want nothing to do with him. So I was thinking maybe we trade him for McNeil or something like that. No, the Mets don't want him. So. And Marcus Stroman is another conversation we need to have because he says he's not competing for a spot. In his mind, he's got a spot on the rotation. There's another problem there. They got to move him because what do they do with Clark Schmidt? I love Clark. I don't hate Marcus Stroman by any means, but now you're kind of creating another issue, a potential issue there because you're not going 6-man rotation. Stroman's not going to the bullpen, nor should he because he's not a good bullpen option. And then you'd kind of be demoting Clark Schmidt, and he's done nothing to deserve that. So you could be creating a problem there if you don't get on top of that quickly, which is why they should have been done with the Stroman stuff, and that would have opened up a few extra million in the pocketbook to go get Iglesias and even go get a James McCann. I mean, those two guys on the bench would be a lot more comfortable with than what we have now. Dom Smith and an Uber driver. I like Ascara, but like, is that our best option for a backup catcher right now?
No, it's it's really what I think was really getting us as frustrated as we are is the fact that we added a solid outfielder, a first baseman. We got a closer. Like we've made moves this offseason that should have us amped up for the season, and yet there are still so many question marks. We talked about it, on Monday, for a little bit. It's like they went, running down the field, and then they started rounding the bases, and then halfway to third, from third to home, they just went back to third base and just stood there with a triple. It's I don't understand why they didn't just take the all four bases.
Interesting analogy.
Yeah.
I was lost there. I was like,
nonetheless, they need somebody. If they're not going to add a bat, they got to pray that Ben Rice does become the bat they think he is. They think he's, according to Joel Sherman, they think he's a middle of the order type of bat. Against righties, sure, not against lefties. Then who's the DH against lefties? There's another question. Is it DJ LeMahieu? Dom Smith's a lefty, so you're not going to put him against lefties. So what do you do there? They should be in on another bat. I'm not saying they can't use Ben Rice. He did look a lot better yesterday than he did in his previous game. I think he had 2 hits yesterday. So, again, but he could be competing for the backup catcher spot. That's, D-Rod, we had this conversation on Monday, and we were all wondering the same thing. Why did they trade Narvaez? And I still don't understand it. The kid they got is an impressive prospect, but they needed a backup catcher, especially knowing that they could have gotten something for Trevino, which they did, to clear some money. You could have had a very cheap, perfect backup catcher option. And they just said, give him to Boston. So, D-Rod, if you want to go back and watch our show on Monday, it's up to you. But we had this conversation about Narvaez. I still don't get it.
if it's really about salary relief, then that's a real problem for the Yankees, the New York Yankees. I mean, we're talking about the Yankees. Are we forgetting about this? Like, how is that even a narrative with an organization like the Yankees? Salary relief in a non-salary cap sport. The Yankees, Hal Steinbrenner, imposing a budget, and he's holding fast to this budget, even though, and he's lying to us, saying there isn't a budget when there is. And then we're still now a couple of bats short. At least a couple of bats short. It's just a bizarre. It's really bizarre. And you know what hurts is that this is the narrative. Should not be the narrative coming out of spring. We should not be talking about injuries 3 days into spring. Because we're not even a week into spring. And we are spending podcasts talking about injuries. But we don't have anything else to talk about. Because that's the honest truth. The Yankees didn't do enough in the winter. Y'all can lie to yourselves and delude yourselves that they did, but they didn't. Because if they did, then we wouldn't be having these conversations, freaking out about injuries. So it isn't acceptable for an organization like the Yankees. This should not be the narrative. Hal's budget. It should be talking about, I'm really excited to see this third baseman. Really excited to talk about this. I'm really excited to see how this guy develops, that guy develops, and the projections. That's what we should be talking about in spring. We should be talking about projections and who's fighting for the final roster spots. Instead, we're talking about who's going to DH for the New York Yankees through the summer. You know, who's playing third base for the Yankees? We don't know. Who's playing off the bench for the Yankees? Because we don't have any. Who's our backup catcher? I don't know, because we don't have one. That's the kind of conversations we're having, and it's completely unacceptable for an organization like the New York Yankees.
No, it's look. I've said it. If Howard have went into the All saying, "Look, we're going to try to stay under that last luxury threshold on the taxes," but unfortunately, with baseball, sometimes you have to expect the unexpected. If we have to go over to remain a competitive team, we will evaluate the situation at that time. There's no issue there. We're all going, okay. If the money is right, he'll go over. But he treats it like a hard cap, and I think that's the problem, and that's been the problem that we've talked about over and over again for almost 5 years together now.
The biggest problem is he's lying about it. He said there wasn't a budget a couple of days ago when everybody kind of knows that there is a budget.
You had Bregman out there, and when we were going back and saying, look, he made the statement, there's nobody out there that we can't get. So go get him. Like, what's the holdup? I understand. Look, I understand the business part of it. But, come on. Success brings it, success breeds success. You want to make money. Yeah.
That's Anna Maria. I completely agree with this, by the way.
Good point.
It might not be a popular take because I know the current narrative is that Soto's a mercenary. But Soto's a very smart guy, and he was very honest about his family and everything from day one. And I don't think the Yankees did enough during the year to show that they're the team that he should be committed to. Hal Steinbrenner admitted at the end of the season that he didn't spend any time with getting to know Juan Soto. That's a whiff. And I'm not even speculating. That's exactly what Hal Steinbrenner said. I didn't spend any time with Juan Soto during the year. I'm trying to make up for it now. Well, it's too late, bro. You had all year. Take his family out for dinner, and maybe that might have actually made the difference. You didn't do it, man. You didn't do it because you're just not. You're not it as an owner. You're just not.
No,
but I know the Yankees are trying to change things now by changing who's singing what at the end of Yankee losses and the beard policy and all that stuff. Yeah, it's to help with the narrative, and it's helped to cheer the Yankee fans up a little bit, answer some of the Yankee fans' complaints and things like that. And I'm happy about the changes made. Completely happy with both changes made. But let's be honest, if I had the choice of signing an Alex Bregman and spending another $40 million on the budget to have a better team, or have That's Life singing at the end of a Yankee loss, I know what I would choose. So yep. I think this is more to distract us from what's actually happening, and that's what really that's what annoys me. That's the way I view it.
And another thing is, what else did Hal say when he was talking about the budget? He's like, do you really need a $300 million payroll? No, if you spend it correctly, you don't need a $300 million payroll. But then he also said, would increasing our budget help us win a championship? Yes, because you need a third baseman, and you need a backup catcher, and now you need a DH. So absolutely, it would help you win a championship. I'm not saying they had to go match. I never said this once. They had to go match the dollar for dollar with the Dodgers. But if they had just added Bregman when he was available to the entire sport for an extra month and a half that nobody thought was going to be the case, he could have fell into your lap. And I said this before, even before Roki Sasaki signed. I said the longer this goes, the increased chances you get at Bregman signing a Bellinger type deal. He signed for more money than Bellinger, but he took the exact same kind of deal. Opt-outs in between each year, or the first couple of years. You could have had him. There'd be no long-term commitment. You wouldn't have to worry about, is this going to bite us in the ass in 6 years or so? No. You could have had him for 4 years max if he opts in, and you would have just had to pay money. So when Hal says it's not about the luxury tax, then what is it? Was it really about the draft picks and international money? Because then why would they have been in on Christian Walker? So it doesn't make sense to me. What's up, Ivan? I don't. None of that makes sense to me. Every time Hal speaks, I want to be on his side because I've defended him a lot on this show. But the more he's been speaking over the last few months, the more I'm just like, dude's talking out of his ass. Because I said the other day, the beard stuff should have happened a long time ago, long overdue. And the Frank Sinatra stuff, I don't care. I never cared. People made such a big deal about it. Why are you playing the song after we lose? Who cares? It's a song. Cover your ears if you don't want to hear it. Or put your headphones on as you're walking out of the stadium. I never cared once about the song playing. And yet, this is what we're happy about? Like, oh, thank God they're not going to play Sinatra. And when they are, they're just going to rotate different Sinatra songs. So, no, I'm not worried about that. I never was. I'm worried about this lineup now because I wasn't really worried if we had a healthy Stanton. I was like, okay, third base platoon, let's see who wins it. But now you have two spots potentially being massive holes, and there's other question marks there because is Austin Wells going to be the guy we think he is? Is Volpe going to be better? And again, we can go through the whole list. Every single one of them besides Judge really is a question mark, and even he has some questions like, is he going to be as good as last year? Or is he going to be more like 2023 Judge or 2021 where he was like a 40 home run hit or something like that? So there's those questions there. Does he have enough protection around him? I don't know if he does. I really don't. I hope that a guy like Jazz and Bellinger surrounding Judge works, but I don't care about the song thing. I care about this team going back and winning a championship. That's all I care about. And yes, Hal, adding a third baseman and adding to your budget would help your chances at winning a championship because Alex Bregman would have made me feel a hell of a lot better about, okay, let Stanton get healthy. Mid-season Stanton, fine. Let's get him ready for the playoff run of the postseason. But we don't have an Alex Bregman. We don't even have a Nolan Arenado. We have a hopeful Peraza and a hopeful Cabrera, a hopeful Ben Rice, a hopeful Pereira, and Dominic Smith. Like, this is what we're looking for to step up. I'm sorry, I don't love it. I'd be fine with the third base platoon if there was a better DH option in there, which there isn't right now. So we have to hope for a lot of things. You're talking about a 9-man lineup where everything has to go right. The pitching can't carry us all season, as good as it is. It's not going to carry us all season.
Yeah, I want to get, there's nothing wrong that you said there, but you brought it to pitching, and the one guy that we were talking about earlier that we kind of skirted over, I really want to take some time to go into, a little time to get to Scott Effros, and the non-effect of him in this bullpen. I think he's pitched in 15 games, and he throws one pitch and he goes out after coming back from surgeries. Is this really that? What does this mean going forward with the bullpen? I don't think that as much as I was looking forward to seeing Effros back in the bullpen, the fact that we haven't had him for this amount of time, I'm not overly torn up. Obviously, I feel bad for him for getting hurt, but I don't think it's going to be as a detriment to the bullpen as some people are saying.
I can't help but be mad about that 2022 deadline because that should have been like the best deadline Cashman ever had. Like every single need we had, he got. Benintendi, Montas, Lou Trevino, Effros, even Harrison Bader. Like we should have been rolling after that trade deadline. Every single one of them ended up getting hurt. And then Montas never pitched for us, or barely pitched for us. Effros has pitched like 13 innings for us. Bader got hurt again the following year. Trevino was signed but was hurt, and now Effros just can't get on the field. So I don't blame them for bringing him back because he was due like $1 million. So it's like it's a low risk. But it's a damn shame because I still don't think Cashman was wrong for making the moves he did that year. But the fact that every single one of them ended up being on the IL at different points or all at the same time in that season is insane to me. And I feel bad for the guy because he's a good pitcher. When he's been out there for us, he's been pretty good. 2022, after the trade, he was lights out. We were like, this guy was a steal. And then naturally, as every other Yankee does, he hits the IL. So I feel bad, but luckily the Yankees have several arms that are already pitching in spring like right now that could potentially take his spot. It's a shame for him because he probably would have earned a spot had he stayed healthy. But now, we'll see how serious it is. But every time Effros has an injury, it turns out to be worse than expected, as is the case for every Yankee. So, yeah, I feel bad for him.
Was injured when we traded for him.
Bader was. Montas was dealing with some stuff. He had off the field issues.
That's the problem. That's what problem with those trades, though, is they were both dealing with injuries when we acquired them. And a shout out to Pete, because at the time he was very worried about the Montas trade. He was like, I don't feel good about this because of his injury history. So, wasn't that the offseason where they could have gone Luis Castillo?
Yes.
Yeah. They didn't want to give up Peraza, I think Volpe, and there might have been another player involved, but they didn't want to give up the bases.
It was Peraza, Dominguez, and one of the pitching prospects at the time.
The guys they used for the Montas trade could have been used in a Castillo trade. And also, I really wanted Ian Happ that year, and they went and got Benintendi.
I remember you wanted him.
Right.
I wanted Ian Happ badly that year.
Better shot. Better. That's right. And so, when you don't go for the top option and you kind of go for the second option, you get secondary results. And it is unfortunate. The Bader trade didn't work out. Should have worked out. Didn't. Turned out that Montgomery was actually really pretty good. We probably should have kept a hold of him. But we're going back in time. But the reason why we're going back in time is because it's kind of come back to bite us because the Effros trade, he gave away a very, very valuable prospect to get Effros. And it's that failed as well. So there's been a number of Brian Cashman moves that have just flat out failed. It hurt our depth in the farm system, and we got nothing for it. Just look at the Joey Gallo trade. It's one of the worst trades of all time. We should be going back in time, but unfortunately, the Yankees have a budget. So we're looking back, going, "Damn, maybe if they didn't make that move, then we would have had a little bit more prospects, or we could have where we might actually be in a better shape than we are now." But you know what really annoys me is that, again, I circle back to this, but we're a couple of days into spring. There's still a month to go. We're 2 bats short, and there's a month to go in spring, and we don't know what's going to happen between now and opening day. If anyone else gets hurt, we're really good. And that should not be the conversation for the New York Yankees. It shouldn't be. This might be the first spring that we've ever done as a podcast where we're actually discussing this stuff. Most springs, we've got some optimism where we're like, regardless of the team, even in 2023, I think our spring conversations were a little bit more positive. But this one it's tough because of the conversations that we're having to have, the difficult conversations, and I don't know. But I'd be interested to see what the people in the chat have got to say, because obviously we're concerned about the offense and concerned about the depth, etc. But maybe those in the chat might not be so concerned, and I'd be interested to see if there's any differing viewpoints. Anna Marie, JC Escara could steal the backup catcher job. He's got a lot of potential. Yeah, Escara is pretty decent. That could be a decent option. Who else have we got? FJ says Yankees can't sign JD Martinez until they're sure about the seriousness of Stanton's injury. If Stanton returns early, you can't have Martinez sitting on the bench. Make sure. Ivan? Jose Iglesias. We've talked about Jose Iglesias in the last couple of shows, Ivan. DJ is done completely. Peraza looks the part but needs to hit on 100%. You're hitting on every point, brother. We've actually been discussing Iglesias pretty much every episode because it's a no-brainer. Guy hits for average, hits for contact, and he can and he can play a little bit of defense as well. It's a really no-brainer, and it's absolute insanity to me that the Yankees haven't even made a call at this point.
Iglesias is a more complete Oswaldo Cabrera.
Yeah.
Like Iglesias is the finished product of what we need Cabrera to be.
I mean, Cabrera can play the outfield where Iglesias can't. I don't think
That's
at least
true.
so.
Maybe
But
we could
it's
put
not
him
like
in
we
the field
can't.
and make Dominguez the DH. Let's start that.
Yeah, like because we did see that earlier in our chat that somebody thinks he's a bust already after 2 games in spring training, but I don't want. I'm never gonna go that far. That's a bit
No.
extreme for me. But no, they should be going after Iglesias. It just makes too much sense. He's the best bat probably available right now. I'm seeing people talk about bringing Verdugo back. Like if that's what we're going to talk about, I'd much rather have Iglesias right now. He can field, he can hit. Like I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's this is the thing with Dominguez. I wanted to get this in the show on Monday, and I missed the opportunity to. I'll do it now. Stop calling Dominguez a bust. Just go back. We were reminiscing about some of the other deadlines. We kept him through a trade deadline, had him in September, in that Astros series to close out the season. He killed it. We're going to sit and everybody see. This is why you can't trade your prospects. This is why you can't trade your prospects. Last year, coming back from an injury, he was misused and just didn't play well in a new position he's never played before. Oh, see, this is why we should have traded him. Like, all right, so which one is it? Can we give him a little time like we talked about on Monday? Can we see more than 4 games before we see how he is going to be as a complete player? I mean, it drives me nuts. It drives me crazy that this happens. Every prospect we have, the first time they have a hiccup, bust. Trade him. We should have moved him. Cashman sucks. How does it know how to own a team? Boone can't manage. These are the same narratives over and over and over again. We said, there's a lot of times we saw all with the baby bombers. We're unstoppable. Well, there's only one standing right now, and that's Judge.
New core 4 was supposed to be Judge, Sanchez, Sevy, and Bird. And that worked out. So I always say that you can trade prospects. As much as I like to see the prospects come up and go through the system, sometimes I'm very in favor of trading pitching prospects, actually, because the Yankees can just never develop them, and they're constantly getting hurt whenever they're close to being ready. Case in point, Chase Hampton, unfortunately, is out for the whole season. So the thing with Dominguez, he's going to get another shot today. The lineup is out in case nobody has seen it, so I'll read it out. But Yankees against the Cardinals today, so potentially getting a look at hopefully their next third baseman. We got Jazz Chisholm at second, leading off, and then Dominguez batting second, playing left field. Bellinger's batting third, playing center. Goldschmidt's at first. He's cleaning up. Austin Wells is debuting today in the spring, so a little bit ahead of schedule. Volpe's at short. Dominic Smith, here's your DH. He's batting 6th or 7th. Pablo Reyes is in right field, and Oswald Peraza getting another start at third base. So another day of no DJ LeMahieu. God is good. And Will Warren gets a start. He's going to get his second appearance this spring. He looked really good in his first outing. I'm hoping that Will Warren can keep it going because that changeup was looking very nice. We need a big bounce back year from Will Warren.
I think apart from Aaron Judge, they'll be playing in right field. That will, I would say, 8 times out of 10 will be the opening day lineup.
That's probably every start. Yeah, except for Pablo Reyes, that's probably every starter with maybe Rice over Dominic Smith, but everything else pretty much. I
think it's going to be Dominic Smith. I think Dominic Smith will be the DH.
He had a home run yesterday, so you know what's going to happen with Dominic Smith. I can see it right now. Like maybe the first or second week of April, he's going to go absolutely nuclear. He's going to hit like 3 home runs in a matter of 7 or 8 games, and we're going to forget about Stanton for like a week. And then he's going to go like 0 for his next 30. And we're going to be like, should have had a fucking bat, right? It's going to be Willie Calhoun all over again, or Franchi Cordero. Remember how good Cordero was for like a week? And we're like, holy shit, this guy was a steal. And then he couldn't hit the ball. It's Dominic Smith. I can already see it. I hope I'm wrong. What? Maybe he does put up a...
You're not.
Yeah.
If he starts the season with a hot bat and gets us on the right track to start the season, I'm all for it because we know it ain't going to last. So let him at least help us get out of the gate on the right foot. Then we'll worry about it afterwards.
Zero upside in the Dominic Smith
move.
But let's talk a little bit about yesterday's game. Smith did hit a home run. Any standout performances for you guys?
No, there was I found very. I don't think I saw any clips from yesterday because it wasn't televised. There was no radio broadcast, which is a big problem for spring training. I think that's something that Major League really needs to put a little effort into, is the accessibility on spring training games.
So you didn't see like any of the stats or anything?
I didn't get any of the. No, I know the home run. Look. I don't look at. I'll be honest. I don't look at stats in the first week of spring training because we've seen so many times, like Dominic Smith, he's actually hit, putting good at bats together. Like, there's Stanton's replacement. The stats say he's ready. It's too early.
Well, Roger Arias had a couple of hits yesterday. Pereira hit a home run. He's actually looked really good his first few at bats in the spring, so I'm rooting for him. Tyler Matzik had a 9-pitch inning.
Yeah,
he looked really good. I hope he gets a spot. I'm really rooting for him as well. There are storylines here. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take away from the fact that there are storylines to follow in the spring. Normally, I'd be excited about it. I just, it's the letdown of not getting a third baseman and things like that I'm not going to get into again. But we do have a third base battle. We do have a backup catcher battle. We have an open spot or two in the bullpen that a guy like Will Warren or Matzik can go and grab. So there are storylines to follow in the spring, and every game does matter for these kind of things. So today, we'll watch Peraza because Cabrera went 0 for 3 yesterday. He hasn't looked too good. It's only 2 games in for him, but offensively, it's been kind of shaky. Pereira has looked really good, and he's coming off of an injury, so maybe he competes for a DH spot. He's not going to play the outfield because of his elbow, or at least not yet. So there are storylines to follow here. That's why I'm keeping up with every game, because I want to see who wins the backup catcher. Maybe it is Ben Rice. Maybe it is a Scar, like Anna said. So there are storylines. I'm not down on the season. I still think this is going to be a good year for the Yankees. I'm not down on Dominguez, although I do agree that maybe they should have at least considered keeping him in center field and putting Bellinger in left. That might have been a little bit of a smarter move because it's going to take him a little while. But at the same time, if you want your future outfield to be Dominguez, Jones, and Judge until he has to DH full time, you might want to get a head start on that. But it's still way too early to be calling Dominguez a bust. It's still too early to say Volpe's a bust because 2 years into a career is not enough to say this guy can't do it because he can turn it around. At least offensively, he can just be a league average, and we got ourselves a good shortstop. So there are storylines here. There's things to be excited about. There's things to bitch about, but not over the top bitching. This is still a good team. It's just it's frustrating when a team like the Yankees is crying poor when they can't go at a bat as simple as a Jose Iglesias. Like, we're asking for that at this point. A 35-year-old shortstop that'll probably come for very cheap. That's all we're asking for right now.
It's a slap in the face of the fans.
Yeah, you're not breaking the bank for Iglesias.
Right. You're not even breaking the bank for a James McCann, and that's all I'm asking for.
That's what I keep saying it, but it's true. It's a slap in the face of the fans. The fans have spent a fortune going, getting season tickets or getting tickets and merch and all this stuff, and the Yankees put a middle finger up at the fans, going, well, sorry guys, we're all out of money. Yeah, but keep giving us money, but we're out of money. Yeah, I'm never gonna accept that. D-Rod, this is what I don't really like here. Real fans don't bitch about everything. Be a man. I'm sorry, your masculinity has nothing to do with certain opinions or or things you could pinpoint about this Yankee roster. The Yankees went to the World Series last year and lost. And this entire spring training is about injuries and being several positions short. That's the reality. That's nothing to do about bitching and moaning or anything like that. I don't necessarily get that comment. Ivan, I would say there's a better chance of bumping into Santa Claus, signing it up in Fort Lauderdale with Mrs. Claus, than Don Smith being Matt Carpenter. But
I know where he's going with that, that flash in the pan pop, that'll give you a few bursts of offensive, contributions. But it's Matt was on it was different. It just was.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, Effros is hurt again.
That's not what I said, D-Rod. I just said that there's no correlation between your masculinity and having opinions on a team. That's a stupid thing.
But bitching about your team is what a fan is.
But we're not bitching about the team, Taz. We're not. We're pinpointing certain aspects.
Yeah. Well, same difference.
And the whole part about slapping the face, D-Rise, they said, we're using their words to basically back themselves up. You said you can get anybody you want. You said you know what's expected of you, and you kind of stopped short. That's all. That's what we've been saying all off season. Again, I don't blame would I like Soto back, of course, but you know what? He took the Mets deal, and they moved on pretty quickly because within a few weeks of that, they got 4 different players added to their roster. They got a first baseman, a center fielder, a closer, a starting pitcher. They added to the team, and then they just stopped for like 2 months. They didn't make a move until Tim Hill was back, when the options to make the team even better and go for the kill and make sure that nobody can touch you in the American League was right there for the taking. And they said, that's kind of a slap in the face after you said, stay tuned, we're getting after it. We can get anybody we want. That's what we mean by slap in the face. I'm not going to say that. I'm never once going to call Hal Steinbrenner cheap for spending $300 million on a team, for offering $740-something million to a player. I can't call that guy cheap, but I can call him out for saying he knows what's expected of him, and he knows he can get anybody he wants, but he's kind of like stopping short. That feels like a slap in the face to me. Yeah, and fans cheer their team, but fans are invested. They bitch about it. In fact, D-Rod, you're bitching right now. So does that make you less of a man? You're bitching about us bitching. So does that make you less of a man? There's a question I ask you. It's just, you're bitching. We're bitching. Does that make us bitches? I don't know what's going on here. What is this conversation about? Fans are going to fan how they want to fan.
It's a round robin argument because all you're going to do is there are fans that are forever optimists. There are fans that are forever pessimists. And then I like to believe that we're kind of in the center of it, because when the teams do it, like in the postseason last year, I don't think we've ever given Boone more praise in his entire tenure with the Yankees. He had up until the World Series and Nestor Cortez, he had not made one mistake. He pulled all the right strings. So we were fanning. We were cheering. We were going crazy. When things went wrong, we bitched and moaned about it because we were pissed off. It didn't go the way we wanted to. So does that, now are we not fans because we complained that we didn't win the World Series when we had every opportunity to? I don't understand the argument, the point of, you have to cheer for your team no matter what. I can't do it.
Right, you don't have to listen to anybody else's opinion on how you should be a fan.
Yeah.
There are people that are going to say Dominguez the bus. Fine. I do not agree with it at all, but that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. If D-Rod wants to say that we're bitching, that's how he feels. I ain't going to change his opinion, but D-Rod, I just said that they got Devin Williams and Max Fried and Bellinger and I just went off on a list of their moves and said they were one move short. Let's move on, bitches. Yeah, thank you, Anna. The show's basically over at this point anyway, but what are we talking about? D-Rod, go take another go take another drink, and whatever it is you're taking to make you act like this at the late part of the show every time because you were doing so well. Go take another sip of whatever it is that makes you the way you are, and we can call it a day.
Yeah,
why don't you go look in a fucking mirror?
Let's wrap this up. Hope everybody enjoy the show. If so, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you want to join the chat in future shows, and just hit that notification bell so you never miss a live stream on us. We'll be back Friday morning, 10 a.m. So just remember, like we always say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.